Action.
What are you doing here? What are you stealing?
The project started when me and a writer called Lucy Catherine entered a film scheme in Bristol called iFeatures, which was about developing a film that could be shot in Bristol that somehow reflected Bristol as a city.
Well, my first impressions were just how powerful the whole story was, how it weaves along and how different the journey of the characters and how they intertwine with each other and how they end up at the end.
It's one of those scripts where you're almost jumping ahead 3 pages just to kind of find out what's happening.
I was just so excited about the visual opportunities that the script presented. The film worked inside of different psychological landscapes. There's dreams, there's flashbacks, all sorts of things that as a director you can get excited about.
Rehearsal! Nice and quiet, please.
It's a very human story, so it's about people and about relationships.
It was interesting, it was always set on the edge of a city. It was where the kind of urban stops and the countryside starts. And Hartcliffe is exactly that, you know, it's a big estate right on the very edge of Bristol.
It's got the kind of suspense and horror element to it, and I think if all the elements are right, it's got the potential to be something very, very exciting.
It's a story about 2 people really dealing with grief. One a 15-year-old girl called Marie, who's played by Jessica Barden, and one a 40-year-old man called Filthy, who was played by Tony Curran. And both of those characters are affected by grief in different ways, and they react to grief in different ways.
She's really shy and she's dealing with the fact that like she's 15, she's trying to go up. She's quite young for her age compared to like a friend, Michelle. You see a lot of that relationship in the film.
No, she's not old enough. I'm the same age as you. Trust me, she's not old enough.
This is a deep relationship, it's quite tricky. We don't know what's going on with our relationship either.
The first challenge with a script like this was to break down the style of how you're going to approach it, especially in terms of it being about a 15-year-old girl and a sort of 40-year-old man. And their story's been quite different, but it being a two-hander, so to try and give it a thread, as it were, a visual kind of thread.
It's like a horror film, but it's kind of, there is a lot of elements that make it look like it's natural and it's something scary and freaky underneath. And so it was just make it look really naturalistic but weird at the same time. So that was basically the approach, of like make something look as it could actually be happening.
Part of the decision of getting Nea Sole to shoot the film was that we were bringing a Spanish eye or Spanish sentiment into a British film, into a very kind of British setting.
We basically using quite a tight lenses when we are inside, so it feels a little bit claustrophobic, and that the characters are kind of trapped on these spaces, and when we've been going outside on landscape we try to use more wide lenses so it kind of breathe and we let the nature kind of invade.
We tried to inject the film with a real sort of compelling sense of mystery, so that even though you're not entirely sure what's going on at the beginning of the film, you're still drawn into the characters.
Filthy lives in an area outside, well, it's in Bristol, called Hartcliffe, with his son Sean, and he appears to be a bit of a loner, but the people in the community believe that, you know, that there's more to Filthy than what they see, just hanging out with his kid and going lamping at night with his friend Steve.
In the film, I'm called Sean. I'm 6 in it, and my dad's called Filthy.
We met Alfie and called him back, and he just seemed to exude this calmness and confidence and serenity that we thought would work really well for the part.
This is my first film, so just getting used to it now. It's quite fun just doing it, I guess. It's just good.
We like Jess because she's got this amazing kind of timeless face.
She's got like a massive imagination, and I think as well as like everything else that's going on in the film, like all the things of a mum and a dad and Filthy, she's just trying to grow up.
I'm playing a character called Kathy, who is Marie's mum. It's a really, really difficult character, one of the hardest things I've done, I think, just because I'm playing with it on 3 different levels and in different time zones as well.
My character's called Steve. He's Filthy, the main character's best friend. What's nice is that it's not one of those scripts that underestimates its audience as well. I think any audience coming to see the film will actually have to, have to work, have to be on their toes.
One of the biggest challenges for me was actually making that transition from documentary into drama. Of actually having to create environments where they feel real rather than filming environments where they are real, and working with actors as well. But I'm actually, it's one of the things that I'm most proud about of the film is the performances.
I think that the script is more of a sort of social drama, but peppered with a little bit of creepy supernatural, but very subtly.
If they were expecting to see a horror film, I don't think they'd necessarily be disappointed, because it still has a very edgy and disturbing atmosphere. But then that disturbing atmosphere leads on to something that's much deeper. It's a very English landscape, and it feels like it could be in any small, forgotten edge of any town in England. And yet that the way that the story unfolds is not like most English films that rely on melodrama or sort of overtly genre elements. This film relies on atmosphere and things that are a lot more visual, and therefore I think a lot more European in its style.
Ultimately, I would love it if people are moved by this film. You know, that's what I'd really like, is that actually people watch it and they're touched by it. And if I can do that, or if the film can do that, I feel like we've achieved what we set out to do.
First impression on reading it was just how much I was struck by the characters, and how the storyline twists and turns in so many different sort of avenues, and the sort of the beauty that comes out of the story, of a story that, you know, is intrinsically very, very sad. Filthy is he lives in an area outside, well, it's in Bristol, called Artcliffe, and with his son Sean, and he appears to be a bit of a loner. You know, he goes out lamping in the hill behind his home, and you know, he shoots rabbits, he shoots deer, and he basically sells them. He goes poaching basically, and he sells them to the, you know, to the people around his neighbourhood and around, you know, the butchers and so on. The script has got a lot to do with the fact what Lucy has written, is a lot in the UK and other countries, that how difficult it is for us, for people to deal with death, and to deal with people passing on, passing through, mourning, and how we're quite crap at it really, and how we sort of, you know, we have to go on with our lives, you know. There's a moment when Steve and me are talking, and he's like, you know, he wants to go on with his life, and he wants to go shopping. Can I get you something? And trying to forget and move on because it hurts too much, which is obviously understandable. But at the same time, Filthy's not like that. It was quite scary when I read the script. I was like, oh, there's a lot to do here. But the role and the whole script was too, for me, was too strong and too challenging not to have a right good go at it, as it were. A lot of the time you just sort of, you know, you want to sort of have emotional recall sometime and think about, you know, things that's happened in your own past, and use that as a trigger to get into certain emotional states. And then, of course, sometimes you just act. I really like Alistair. We've been having a good time together. He's very passionate about what he's been doing. We, in many ways, I think we had a really good understanding as soon as I got here. We had about 5 days of rehearsal with certain scenes, and we just started talking about the character and what what kind of man he was and what kind of you know, life he leads and his expectations. You know, a lot of it obviously revolves around his child. Pretty much everything does. I think this has got the script is more of a sort of social drama, but with a bit peppered with a little bit of sort of creepy supernatural, but very subtly, I'm sure, because it certainly isn't all blood and guts.
I'm playing a character called Kathy, who is Marie's mum and is married to Steve. It's quite a complicated character for many reasons, which are quite hard to discuss without giving away quite a big part of the plot. But yeah, it's a really difficult character. One of the hardest things I've done, I think, just because we're playing with it on 3 different levels and in different time zones as well. It's a very interesting story, and it's a real page turner as well. It's one of those scripts where you're almost jumping ahead 3 pages just to kind of find out what's happening, and it's very different to most of the films that are coming out of Britain at the moment, I think. I think it's essentially a film about grief and redemption, and about being what it is to be a teenager and what it is to be going through all those big emotions and living in quite a remote place. When you kind of meet her, and she's just absolutely quite manic, and she's trying to sort the house out and basically rebuild it and redecorate it herself. The relationship with her and Marie is quite fraught. It's something quite prickly happening with them, and it's quite difficult to. It's just very difficult to place her, because you know underneath the surface that there's a lot happening, and they're both going through big emotions to do with grief. It's been really good, but just because I think when you have a good story to tell, it attracts certain people, and people, you know, the cast, the crew, you know, the director, everybody involved has a real strong kind of vision of their own vision of what they feel and what they think of when they've read the script, and what the film means to them. I think it's interesting because it means different things to different people. It's that kind of story where, you know, Adjoa Ando came and played a part, and she was like, oh gosh, you know, I absolutely see it as this, and it's like an African story, almost like a fable. And so yeah, of course it's been a micro budget, but it's been really it's been very exciting to be part of it, and everyone's working really hard, and there's a really good atmosphere and feeling on set.
She's got like a massive imagination, and I think as well as like everything else that's going on in the film, like all the things of her mum and her dad and filthy, she's just trying to grow up. Like, you get a sense of that with her friendship with Marshal, And she's like opposite end of the scale. Like when you're 15, you're either like really grown up or you're still a child. So that's kind of like